We are waiting for our bus to do the city tour. Hopefully we're in the right spot. It's raining today. There's a big ship over there. We're supposed to be on a tour bus. So we're waiting for a bus and it's raining. Yeah.
It is home to our main ferry terminal. On our left hand side here, it's all ferries are one of our main forms of public transport. You'll realise quite quickly throughout today is we're very much a harbour-based city. Everything involved, and so a lot of islands, about 47 islands and all. But this whole area, this whole wharf, used to be a big container wharf. About imports coming into New Zealand for it. This old shed here on the left, it's got 10 on the side of it. It's known as Shed 10, and basically it was used as a big processing warehouse for those containers. Run further south and east into outer suburbs. And that's basically what these truncated cones either side of us will form. The one on the left, the metal points on it, is what they used to look like. There used to be old ventilation for the old diesel trains that ran underground. They've now been chopped in half, put glass tops on them, so you can actually... But just quickly on the right, you can see a couple of buildings and the gap in between them, and a lock or a lock gate between the two buildings on the right. To see there's a little traffic light left of that lock is the Sofitel. So it does make it a little bit easier to get around the city. There's a new bus every half an hour, and Auckland, we do have one tram that still runs. It only runs on Saturdays and Sundays here. Because these old silos I mentioned before, old oil charter groups run out of this pier here, and whale and dolphin. Past here on our left, you will see State Highway 1. New Zealand, obviously. This is going to come into West Haven Marina here now. So, Auckland, like I said, the city of sails.
Yeah, it's like a little city on its own.
Here in Auckland, we're actually home to the two largest marinas in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, nothing.
This one here on our right, West Haven Marina, is our largest in the Southern Hemisphere. Just under 2,000 berths. There's another known as Gulf Harbour, and that one is the second largest in the Southern Hemisphere. So, again, a lot of boats.
1.78 million.
Yeah.
So, let's get it.
I believe there's one boat for every 4 family. Do try and stay in this good on the other side of these stores and pay so much per day. And then you can come in and get
It's
take a
Balud.
drive into
Look how Balud is.
basically our first little glimpse of the harbour bridge.
Look at the caps.
This harbour is known as the Waitemata Harbour. Basically, it's when the sun shines on the harbour, the water glistens and sparkles. Now the harbour bridge, to our hard left, obviously not a very tall bridge. It wasn't built for height, it was built for length. So there's actually no exit out of our harbour behind us. There's a mountain out in front of us, a silhouette of a mountain out there. That is Rangitoto Island, that is an island. And the land just in front of it is a peninsula that points south. It's known as Devonport. But that is the oldest suburb of the North Shore. So I'll talk more about Devonport as well a couple of times today.
I like, look.
You can can actually choose to dip your head in the water as well. It applies here in New Zealand. Not sure if anybody's seen the videos online of the tribes members jumping off the tower with vines attached to their ankles, basically de-socketing their hips. That's basically how higher than this one. Not to brag or anything, but it is definitely a heck of a thrill. It's definitely an experience.
That's what's holding you.
At least once in your life. Now, just recently I saw they're having a few neighbour arguments, neighbour battles about how many helicopter flights in and out of their home are acceptable per day. One family believe that one per day is more than enough. Another family are referred to as the Jetsons, which is how many times they're in and out. So they're definitely struggling a little bit more with their first world problems, but that's all down to the left there. You can see a couple of big properties out from there. Over the other side of the water, you might see an Origin, places like Australia and other Pacific islands as well. It's still running today, so hopefully we'll see. Now the bridge we're on now, Auckland Harbour Bridge, you can see there's a bit of a gust today. The original bridge was built in 1959. It's a 4-lane bridge, 2 lanes north and 2 lanes south. 1969, 10 years later, they realised they actually couldn't cope with the amount of cars driving over it. So they had these 2 outer lanes on this side and the 2 outer lanes on the other side attached to the original bridge. You can see it now, we're outside the original span. It was a Japanese firm that came in with pieces and clipped them onto the side of the bridge. Locally became known as the Nippon clip-ons. The bridge now has about 170,000 cars driving on it every day. And there is a little barrier in the middle of the bridge as well. You can see there. That barrier has little hinges in between each piece on the right. That is a movable barrier. So mornings and afternoons, it's usually 5 lanes in one direction, 3 lanes in the opposite. I take a little drive through a little typical suburb of the North Shore, North Coast. Over as many times as you'd like. Now obviously it does offer up a little bit of a debate. People living in Wellington and Christchurch, they're now paying taxes to try and cover the maintenance costs of the harbour bridge. Doesn't really make sense, but we're not going to get into politics today. A lot of different aged homes and shared driveways down the sides. It's all basically to do with what we call subdivision. Originally, they were all basically quarter acre properties. You can find a good example of one here on the right. Nice big house at the back, big front lawn. Not sure why it's like a garage in the middle of this front lawn, but otherwise there's another one on the left coming up. It's a house that's still got their nice front lawn. There's a driveway down the side of the house in the back. So a little bit of that goes on. Blue doors, an old Victorian cottage. Just next to it on the right there is a yellow one, an old Victorian villa. It's actually less to do with maintenance and more to do with the durability of the timber they used back in those days. They used a timber known as kauri, K-A-U-R-I. It's a native New Zealand tree. This is a piece here. Pass that around there, gives you a good example of what that kauri timber looks like. And that timber actually has a resin in its sap that stops things like termites and borer. It actually prevents rot as well. So very durable timber. In these old homes, if the building hasn't had a new paint coat in a while, you actually see the nails rub. And that is the main reason it looks
kauri wood
pretty still today.
underneath the bridge.
The concrete struts on either side.
Underneath the harbour bridge.
Are your 1969 Nippon clip-ons, so we'll see a bit of that.
Look at that.
Down the bottom here, as we get down the little walkway here, it's all under the bridge, a lot more undercover. You'll see a nice green open spot down the bottom, and that's basically where the indigenous people, the Māori people, lived. They lived out on the point there, and they used to fish off the rocks, get the shellfish off the rocks down the bottom, and they named the area Oniwa. Now Oniwa translates to divided earth. This tribe that lived on the point actually dug trenches along this way, basically just to defend their point from the mainland. the early Māori people were very much a warrior culture, a lot of tribal warfare, very territorial. So a lot of these points and mountains and things were very much sought after.
It's so windy.
He locked with us.
We are underneath the harbor bridge in Auckland, and it is so windy.
Originally known as the Ferry Hotel. Basically, to get their license to sell, they had to offer a ferry service back from behind us at the end of the road up to over to like I said, 53 volcanic cones here in Auckland. A lot of different types of volcanoes. There's a volcano a bit further north of us, about 5 kilometers north of us here, known as Lake Pupuki, and that is what we call a caldera or a tuff crater, T-U-F-F. Basically, when a volcano builds up a lot of pressure below Earth's crust, finally releases in an explosion, leaves a big hole or crater in the ground, and all sorts basically. It's a very clean harbour, family of bronze whales. Now, apparently they don't migrate, so they just basically hang around all the time. There's dolphins that come through as well, like I said, and orca whales and all sorts. So you see a lot of these homes either side of us here on the right as well. Old homes now converted into different little businesses throughout.
What's this area called?
Ponsonby. So you'll see a couple of signs coming up on the left that'll have the name Ponsonby and how to spell it. We're going to head shortly onto Ponsonby Road coming up here. See more of it. You see quite a cool old building up on our left that has the name Ponsonby on it. Yeah, Ponsonby. It's the old original Ponsonby post office. Again, a lot of those old buildings, the insides will be changed and modernised. You kind of get lost driving through Auckland City. A couple of years ago, the Auckland Council, Māori used it as a path basically to navigate from one harbour to the other. It became our red light district. It's a lot more tame nowadays than what it used to be. You got a lot of bars and clubs and things throughout. Kaluzi on our left is a drag queen bar, you can see there. Fun to bring your shy friend there, they tend to be picked on quite a bit. Colourful bus restaurants and cafes, there's eateries, there's, like I said, bars. Led to a treaty of Waitangi to be signed by the English Crown and the Māori. And it was signed up in an area up north in the Bay of Islands known as Waitangi.
They also have coffee because I have a lot of.
On the sides of the mountain, they carve big terraces into the side, and it's still owned by the Māori people. It's looked after and run by people known as the Manga Authority. Now, Manga translates to mountain, So basically they're the authority of the mountain here. So they can do whatever they like, basically, with the area. A few years ago, they closed off all public vehicle access to the top of the mountain, which everybody agreed with. They didn't want everybody driving up and down all the time, and it became a bit of chaos. So, obviously we can still drive up. We used to be able to drive up, and only 2 months ago, they closed off all vehicle access. They're trying to do this whole system now where they're trying to protect as much of their land as they can, which is, it is fair enough. But we are still in the conversation with them, trying to basically offer so much money per head of passenger we take up to the top, and if we can get up. And I did try yesterday, just with the bit of weather we had yesterday, and the code doesn't work. They've actually revoked the code from us, so we haven't been able to get up for quite some time. And so I'll explain what that means just when we get to the top here. But you'll see, it's not too bad. Now the name of the mountain, Mount Eden, or the Māori name, Manga Fo. Again, Manga translates to mountain, and Fo is the name of the tree predominantly found around the base of the mountain. There's a sign here just on our right that shows you how you spell it. Manga Fo, you probably notice there's no letter F in the name. The WH in the Māori language is the F, or the F sound. So if you go further north, you go somewhere like Whangarei. Somewhere further south, you go somewhere like Whakatane. That one always catches everybody off guard. And you'll notice a couple of the vowels as well are pronounced a little bit differently when they're paired together. The AU at the end of Mangafo is the O sound. And even the way I pronounce Māori as well is a little bit different to Maori, or the Maori, some people say as well. So.
What do you have? You have ice cream. They don't?
Where are the people?
Down.
Sign coming up here. Just use this sporting field at the bottom, rugby field. It's an old rock quarry. So, like I mentioned, the Auckland's harbour front, a lot of that reclamation, a lot of the volcanic rock from this region was actually mined away. A lot of the rock was used as a base course for those reclamations. A lot of it was used in construction as well. You can see a few homes on the left, a few of the rock walls as well, as all out of that same rock, known as basalt. It's the oldest public boys' school in Auckland. 1869 they're established. So it's still going today. And a lot of famous New Zealanders actually went to the school. Sir Edmund Hillary went to this school, as well as Russell Crowe. We actually worked out that Russell Crowe went to the school the same time and same year as my father-in-law went to the school. So I'm not sure if they had any fights out on the playground that led to his gladiatorial run. They're part of the community in the side of the city, so it is quite a big public park.
I think this is where we went to the museum, right? No, we went to.
Land
I saw that.
throughout.
Yeah.
Botanical gardens.
It is an old
Yeah.
extinct
That's where we're gonna
volcano.
Yeah.
So it's basically a big bubbling lava pit, very slow erupting, and created a bit of a dent, low point down in the city here. So it collected a lot of water, and it actually over thousands of years became a swamp. Early Auckland Council then found it, decided to section off the whole area, redirect all the drainage down into a pond here on our right, and created our first public park, known as the Auckland Domain. So it is a beautiful little park here, a lot of exotic plants and trees from overseas and things and all sorts. We will drive back past here and point out a couple of things again as we go through again, but this is a very nice spot. So we'll walk through and explore. Nice little bandstand down here, quite often their home host musicals and concerts here in the park, and people come set up picnics around the bandstand there as well, especially through summertime. Again, the community down to these kind of places. You got a big tree there on the right hand side as well, a Moreton Bay fig tree.
That's
Very big
huge.
tree, as you can see.
I know.
Australian native. Was gifted to us about 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Still growing today, so very big trees. I don't believe the figs are edible, but
Look at that. That's huge.
and these are the Pahutakawa trees I mentioned up on either side of us. This is the native Christmas tree I mentioned before. So
Oh.
very big trees as well, very big and sprawling, very protected now as well. You can't chop them down.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them have these weird things hanging down from them. Looks like Spanish moss.
Yeah.
It's actually their root systems. The trees realise when it gets too sprawling, too wide, they start producing these roots. So if a branch was to snap off, they could just keep growing, basically, which is quite neat. So, now this is going to take us just towards the winter gardens, the botanical gardens just here. A little bit of things throughout. So what I'll do is I'll just pull in here so you don't have to walk from the bus, but I will park just in front of this van. In front here, I'll obviously lock the bus up and follow you up. But as you get up there, you'll see the two greenhouses either side, one for each.